All right, so shall I sign in?
Okay.
Okay, I don't know what to say about you. What should I say? Are you the executive producer?
I'm the creator.
Give me some words.
I'm the creator and executive producer of Reckless, and I've also written some movies, which we could talk about later.
Okay.
Are you going to say that we're old friends or not?
What do you want?
I don't care. It's your show, so if you don't want to, that's fine. I just keep thinking about how we almost lived together. Remember, we looked at that apartment and we were going to
How are we going to pretend we
it?
don't know?
No,
let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
The difficult part is that we will each remember things that you'll remember things I don't remember, and I'll remember things you don't remember.
Which is fine. And there's no, you know what? There's no memory police, so we're okay. Hi, Lisa Keating here with EncinoMom TV, and on this episode, I would like to have you welcome Dana Stevens. Dana is the creator of this new CBS crime drama, Reckless. It's on Sunday nights. 10 o'clock?
10 p.m.
10 p.m. It's on 10 p.m. Sunday nights, so tune in and you can see what she's been up to. She is the creator and executive producer, Dana Stevens. Hi, welcome to EncinoMom.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. We're here today in her lovely home in Pacific Palisades. Can I say that?
Yes.
Okay. And we just accidentally are wearing exactly the right colors.
That's right. This was not planned.
No. Dana and I know each other from back in the day. Should we just leave it at that?
Yes. We knew each other in college. So.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Reckless and what's going on with that and how it came to be. How did you come to create that?
I was thinking about shows that I loved that I missed. Like I loved NYPD Blue, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
And those shows were like realistic soaps in some ways. You know, they had the elements of the crime, but it had at its core the relationship
That's
drama.
exactly what I was going to say. It was about the relationships
wasn't-
between the people
I mean,
more than it was
yeah,
about
yeah.
what happened in the crime.
I mean, yes, they were solving crimes, but they were really entangled with each other romantically, but it was kind of touching and real what was going on. It wasn't all like pumped up, the way soaps are these days a lot. They're kind of arch, and
Not that arches are bad.
So I also wanted to write about what's going on in our culture today with reckless behavior. I mean, the show's called Reckless because I just keep seeing people literally throw their lives away for a moment of desire or passion. Like, Anthony Weiner, he just has to tweet that picture of his, he can't. Couldn't he get a magazine? I mean, it's like, or there was this governor of South Carolina who, had the affair with the woman from Argentina, and he just had to go to Argentina and pretend that he was hiking the Appalachian Trail. It's like, why doesn't anybody ever stop and go, I'm throwing my life away, and is this worth it? So that was what I wanted to talk about thematically within my show, which was sort of a gritty, realistic soap.
So do we need to actually have you ask those guys those questions?
I don't know.
What is
I
it?
wonder what they would say.
I mean,
women do it too. Like, remember that astronaut woman who was in love with another astronaut, and she drove to Florida in a diaper? Remember, because she had to. She drove like for 3 days straight, and she wore diapers because she wanted to kill him or something.
Yeah, something crazy. Crazy.
It's like, what makes people go crazy like that?
See, you think diaper? I was remembering panties. Maybe they were training. Maybe it was a training.
But I mean, that's reckless behavior.
Yeah.
So, so basically, the show focuses on these two couples. The main couple are Jamie and Roy, who are opposing counsel in a big lawsuit against the police department. And they're very attracted to each other. But if they become involved, that case will, get thrown out, and it's the biggest case of their careers. And so they're trying to, resist their reckless impulses. And the case that they're against each other in is a sexual harassment case in the police department, where this female police officer, very beautiful, her name's Georgina Haig, and in fact she's going to be playing Elsa from Frozen on Once Upon a Time this fall. So she's really, her star is really rising.
Wow.
She has had this affair with a coworker that has gone, they've done every bad thing you can do. And not only that, they've put it on videotape. So it really is just comparing, okay, what if you're a couple who followed every impulse? What does that do to your life? It pretty much ruins it. What if you're this other couple who's trying to resist that pull? What does that do to you? That's sort of what we're exploring.
Maybe that unravels your life in another way.
Oh yeah, I think
when you put something down like
exactly, pushing down.
Yeah, right. Yeah, interesting.
Let's go out to Sullivan's, Roy. Get drunk and dive in the ocean.
We have a hearing tomorrow. Or did you forget?
Sometimes I'd like to forget.
Me too. But listen, I do have to do my homework. My opposing counsel, she is a bit of a shark. And apparently, she has some new mysterious evidence to admit.
Would you like to know what that is? Thanks for coming, Roy.
Well, we'll have to tune in and see what happens to these couples.
Yeah.
I looked at your IMBD,
Uh-huh.
and I see that you've got other things in the pipeline as well, don't you? You have
Yes,
some other projects?
I do. I mostly write movies. This is only the second time I've done TV.
Like you did the script for Safe Haven and Blink.
Yeah, and my most
Blink, though, was original,
Blink was-
right?
Yeah, that was an original screenplay. I wrote this movie City of Angels with Meg Ryan and Nick Cage. That was
Yeah.
sort of and Safe Haven. Those movies are sort of the most successful movies. Movies take a long time. Like I could tell you about the movies that I have in the pipeline, but who knows, if they're going to get made. I have one that I'm doing for Jim Cameron's company that's a true story about a Cuban freediver, Pepin Ferreras, who taught his wife how to freedive, and then they ended up on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and I won't tell you why, but
Okay.
maybe not everyone knows this story, so maybe I won't ruin the ending, but
All right.
it's a great story, and it's an underwater story, and Jim Cameron is amazing with that kind of material. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's good. It's good life being a writer. It's a perfect life for a mom, actually.
And we became moms around the same time, right? I have a 12-year-old, and your son is...
He's 14, yeah.
For me, that was such the right move to become a mom, for one thing, which I didn't know when I was younger,
Yeah.
that I wanted to really, really do that.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody. and secondarily, it was good for me to do it at the time that I did. And I don't know that I would have been a great mom when I was 19.
Yeah,
What about
yeah.
you? Do you feel like it was the right time for you, or
Yeah.
you wish you had done it differently or sooner? Or?
I don't wish that I'd done it sooner. My only regret, and it's not that big of a regret, I often wonder if I should have had another kid. Mostly for my son. I think it's lonely being an only child, but I didn't want to have another kid. So, it just wasn't, it really was that moment of like, what do I do? Do I do, sort of what's right for my life, or do I, but I look back on it and I think, well, if I'd done it quickly, if I'd had another child quickly, then maybe I could have just kind of, kept it all together, as that, when the kids are real little.
Yeah.
It's like you might as well just kind of go all in. That's my only regret, I think, is that maybe I might have wanted to have another kid and I didn't, or I didn't want to, but now that I can't have another kid, I think
maybe
about
I did
it.
want to, and I just didn't.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But I do think being a mom at an older, or
Yeah.
we weren't that old when we had our kids, but we were mature, and we knew a lot about how to treat people, and that's really a lot what mothering is: treating people with respect, treating your child with respect.
Yeah, I think that I don't know how you were when he was really little, but when Lisette came home from the hospital, we took her. We took her around the house. First of all, I was like, dear God, please send me an easy baby. And second of all, when she came home, we were like, okay, this is the kitchen. What happens in here is we prepare meals. This is the living room. We took her and we gave her a tour of the house, and we're like, this is, these are your boundaries.
Yeah.
I know you're a baby. I know this is way too much language, but that kid was trying to talk in the hospital.
Yeah.
She was having like a little conversation with me, like, and then I would, and then she would go back, and I was like, oh my gosh, she that's already in there.
Yeah.
From hearing is their first sense that develops, right?
Yeah,
and
and so they're hearing you in the room. They're hearing you in language, and
so that pattern is already in place. I read Harry Potter because there was all this controversy when Harry Potter first came out. Like, oh, it's the devil book. Remember all this?
Oh God,
right?
yeah, that seems so long ago. But yes,
it was.
You're right.
It was a long time ago. But I was like, oh well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to let my child read this book in 10 years when she's 10 or whatever. But I thought, well, I'll read it now, and then I'll know.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if I'm going to read it, I might as well read it out loud.
Yeah.
Give her the language thing. So.
Oh yeah, I've gotten to read really books I've loved, like Hunger Games. I read out loud to him because he could read by then, but I was still, and we still liked to read together.
Yeah.
I read To Kill a Mockingbird out loud to him. So he recently read To Kill a Mockingbird in school, but reading it out loud to him, and of course I hadn't read it in years. I was like, this is the most brilliant book ever. I mean, I saw way more of the level of allegory that she has in that book. It's an incredible book. But anyway, yeah, you get to read the books yourself.
Actually, there's I've been hearing little stirrings about the power of reading aloud, just in general, and that there are like some bookstores, like in England, not so much here yet, but where somebody comes in and they actually read a book, and people just come to listen to that book.
Yeah.
Do you remember that experience when you were in school, like third grade or something, and the teacher would read aloud, and you kind of put your head on your desk, and you would just let your mind fill in all the pictures?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
There's something very comforting about that being read to, I think, that's sort of in your DNA.
I think it is. It's in your DNA, and I think that some people are rediscovering that, and I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Yeah. So maybe we can encourage that.
Yeah.
So read aloud.
Read out loud.
Find someone and read aloud. Although I have to say, we had this idea, my husband and my mother and I, so this is before my daughter was born. I guess, okay, I don't remember the timing. It doesn't matter. The point is, we were up at my mom's cabin in the woods, and we were like, let's read aloud. Oh, there were a few people now I can remember. There were other people involved. But anyway, we decided to read The Turning of the Screw. I don't know who picked the book.
Wow, okay. It's scary, isn't it?
I don't remember. It was so hard. And not everybody was a skilled reader or alouder. And it didn't work. It didn't work. So if you are going to read something aloud, pick something that you are capable of reading well.
Yeah.
Right?
We could come up with a little list. I got some ideas.
Okay.
We could put them on the website.
We'll post. Okay, so if you just click down below, you'll see Dana's reading list for what to read aloud.
Mine are mostly for boys though, because I have a boy, so.
Okay, and I'll have a list of what to read for girls.
Okay, but Harry Potter will be on both.
Yeah, that's right. Let's talk about California. You're a California girl, right?
Yes.
You kind of look like a California girl, don't you?
I guess I do. Yeah, it's funny.
So I think I'm a California girl too. I might not look like a California girl, but I am one. And I think that California is more than a state. I think it's a state of mind. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I think it's a very freeing place to live, and it's a place where you can find your own way of doing things. I find it to be, now I know New Yorkers who feel the exact opposite, who think that California is kind of a judgmental place. Maybe they think that from the attitude of like how you look or something. I know lots of
Are they actors?
Lifelong women New Yorkers. They're not necessarily all actors, but they feel like in New York, you can just go out and not have your makeup done because, you're schlepping through the city all day, but... And they think in California you have to be all done up, but I don't agree.
I have to interrupt too, because I think that if that is true, it's more true in L.A.
Yes.
I don't think that that's a San Francisco.
No,
If,
absolutely.
if those New Yorkers were
Yeah.
in San Francisco, they wouldn't
That's
have that
right.
opinion.
It wouldn't be like that. And I just think California is a can-do place. It's a yes place. It's a place where I used to be married to an Englishman, and I would spend a lot of time in England. And I hope I'm not offending anyone, but England is often a no place. No, you can't do that. No, there's a kind of a thing of like, don't stand out too much.
I'm being offended for all the English people, so don't worry. You don't have to give us any mail.
I would come home from England, and I would go through customs, and I would walk up to whoever was working there, whatever American, Californian, and he would be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I would be like, "Hi, how you doing?" And I talked to a girl who was from Germany who was in the movie business and was staying here, and she was like, "It's amazing here." She says, "In Germany, everything is verboten," which means forbidden. Yeah. But here, everything is, you can do. It's a yes place, and I think you can reinvent yourself here. You can afford to live here. You can, you know what I mean? It's not. You can't afford to live in New York. I mean, there's
okay. Well, there are a lot of people that would disagree about that. But
well,
I mean, because California is also fairly expensive.
It is expensive, but you can find a place.
It's true.
But in terms of rent or whatever, I find that.
No, I think you're right.
Being a starving actor was a lot easier in California than it was in New York. Although maybe New Yorkers will disagree with me on that too.
I don't. Well, you know what? You can.
But that's
disagree.
not totally what you asked. I mean, you were talking about California being a state of mind. Like, what do you think the state of mind is?
Well, I do think it's open. Mm-hmm. I think it's very open, and I think that it's there's a I have this theory that the weather affects the way we think here.
Yes, I totally agree.
Right? It allows us to be outside almost all year long, and if you have a little heater or a little, misty water blowing on you in the heat of summer, you can pretty much make it through the whole year. We have often Thanksgiving outside.
Oh yeah, and Christmas I'm walking on the beach.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you remember. I remember this so well. If your baby's crying and colicky, all you have to do is go outside. Just go out to your backyard. There's something about being able to be outside that, is so, it's so good for your spirit, no matter how old you are, if you're a little baby or if you're, us. But,
old enough to drink. And I think that there's a tremendous spirit of innovation that is in California, that's inbred in us.
Yeah.
There are so many California natives who have just come up with amazing new technologies. And I mean, to think about Silicon Valley.
Yes.
And then there are people who are imported here, and this is where they really thrive and bring those innovations.
Yes.
And I think that, thinking of like Walt Disney, tremendous spirit of innovation.
There's great stuff about the beginning of the movie business and why it started here, and because in those days it was inexpensive and you had all this different looks that you could shoot, and the whole industry, grew up here. And it also, interestingly enough, when I read some of these old articles, it was always, even then, even in like the aughts, LA was like the kooky place where the psychics and the kooky people were. It was like that even then. And when my mother grew up here, my mother remembers, the Cape, the orange groves on Wilshire Boulevard and stuff like that. She remembers the freeways being built and stuff, So it's a fascinating place. But I do want to say one more thing about it, which is really, this state has so many truly extraordinary things that you can see. Yosemite,
yes,
the giant redwoods in Humboldt. If you have never been up there, all the way up there, I'm not talking about the Muir Woods, you've got to go to Humboldt, which is far. It's like 3 hours north of San Francisco, and it's windy, but there are only 2 places on the planet Earth where you can see those giant redwoods.
Yeah.
And there's so many beautiful places and different vibes that you get.
We have these dramatic cliffs.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's an amazing place. And
Mount Whitney, the highest point in the contiguous 48.
And Mount Shasta's like this kooky place where they're putting up all these things to contact aliens. And
I grew up in it, so I didn't know that we were kooky.
Yes.
But it's true. We have this reputation, I think, around the world as being kooky, and also I think we go out from here. like Californians don't necessarily, because it's a state of mind, we're not bounded by the lines that are invisible, by the way, on the planet, right?
Yeah.
So you can find a Californian in Canada or Japan or South America or wherever you happen to find yourself on the planet.
I feel very lucky to have grown up in this, sort of generally Southwest, because I grew up also in Phoenix. The Southwest has a great big sky kind of, it just feels like, it still feels like the frontier in some really cool ways. Although
Yeah.
I love New England, I love Boston. Now I'm shooting the show in Charleston, South Carolina. I've totally fallen in love with the South and discovered that for the first time. So
How often are you down there?
when we shot the pilot, which was last year in the spring, I was there for like 6 weeks. But then when we were actually in production for the episodes, I would go about once a month. And all our writers and editors were here in LA, but all the actors and, all the shooting, was shot there. And I have a boyfriend in the South, so it was kind of a perfect thing for me to get to see him more often. So,
Well, that worked out.
Yeah.
Well, I have a Southern husband. He's from New
well,
Orleans.
see,
So.
there you go. So we know about those Southern gentlemen and how nice they are.
We do. And I remember when, back in college days, when I was thinking about, someday being married or, having a permanent partner in my life. And I thought, as much as I love California and all the things that we talked about and all the fresh foods that
Yeah,
are
oh
allowed to grow
gosh.
here and all the fresh states of mind, I felt like I wanted somebody that was from somewhere else. Because there was something, maybe in all of our freedom, where we didn't have the same kind of manners and regard
so
for
true.
family and history and things like that in some of the other places that you've mentioned. So I think there's value in connecting with those Southern gentlemen and so on.
And whenever you meet someone that sort of was brought up culturally different from you, it's endlessly fascinating. There's always something to talk about and learn about if you marry someone that sort of is from a different, background. Some California lawmaker was trying to say that California should be divided up into 7 different states, and I was like, I don't know about that, but as long as I'm living in one of them, I'm going to be
okay.
happy because.
Well, there are people that say, California should be its own country.
Yes.
Sometimes it feels like that.
One thing I will say that I'm proud of, because a lot of people would think that, with California being wacky or kooky, that we can't really run our state well, but we're running, we've gotten our state out of the recession and we're running it pretty well. So I think honestly, either party can run a state, and California's proof that the Democratic Party can run a state, can keep it together financially. I think we all need to get back to a little bit more of the old school understanding of each other's point of view, and not just like, you're horrible and I hate you,
Yeah, grow
And,
up.
California
Let's
kind of
grow up a
engenders that.
little bit.
Everybody thinks, oh, California. And
Well,
I'm sorry about my dog.
That's okay. We're happy to have life in the house. You have to work together. We're all here together.
Yeah.
So let's.
Yeah, and you have to understand that everybody doesn't believe what you believe, and they're never going to. We've got to stop trying to think that we can actually going to change, somebody's belief system. We're not.
Yeah.
I got to go to a dinner once in Washington D.C., and it was when President Bush was President W. When W was president.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Sorry
yeah.
about that.
But he was there, and Hillary Clinton was there, and she was running for president too. This was the end
I'm
of
sorry.
his.
We have to go back because I want
can't
you to
talk
say
about
that.
politics.
No.
Oh.
We can say it, and you can say it, but I want to cut out what I say.
All right, you can cut out what you say. So I went to Washington D.C. to a dinner, and George W. Bush was there, and also Hillary Clinton, and this was his second term, and Hillary was running for president. She was on the news all the time bashing W, saying how horrible Bush had done. But I'll tell you what, at that dinner they were like good old buds. That's the way it used to be in politics. It was like it wasn't so vitriolic.
Acrimonious.
And I'm a little worried, for my son and what kind of world he's going to come into, because people have really gotten angry, and everybody can find some spin. Everybody can find some research that says they're right.
Well, you know what? Yes, everyone can find. You can prove pretty much
Right,
anything.
right.
Whatever you set out to prove. They've even discovered that when scientists create a study and
Yeah.
they're set out to prove that, I don't know, pick something, they find the results that they're looking for.
Right.
Because the test is designed to find
That's
that.
right,
So we
that's
can
right.
all substantiate whatever we believe.
Yeah.
And you're right, you cannot change someone else's beliefs. You just can't.
Yeah.
That's up to them, and it's not really your business. I got something. Have friends and family members who are not of the same political persuasion.
Yes, I have
right?
a lot of that in my life.
And every once in a while, somebody will forget or not know, what I think or
Mm-hmm.
whatever what I believe, and I'll get on the opposing side's mailing list or whatever. And it's so interesting because you can see when you're looking at someone else's propaganda how skewed it is. And yet, when you're reading your own propaganda,
Right.
you don't see necessarily.
Right.
It really is propaganda because
Yes.
this stuff is designed to sway the way you think.
Yes.
And to provoke an action.
I think that in all our little micro worlds, we can figure out how to get along. But when it just, explodes, like, in my show, I have a writing staff, so it's a micro world where we all
Of
have to
course.
figure out how to respect each other's ideas and get along. And it's interesting. It's interesting to see the dynamics and how you can all be, what do you want to say, humane to each other, and as long as, you're face to face,
Dana, this has been just so lovely.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm so happy we got to do this, and
Me
thank you for
too.
having me on and letting
Me
me give a
too.
plug to Reckless. Watch Reckless.
Watch Reckless.
Sunday nights at 10. It's very sexy, and the men are incredibly gorgeous. You're going to be very happy if you watch it.
Don't be reckless. Watch Reckless. On CBS, Sunday
Yes.
nights at 10. Dana, can I give you a hug?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Charlie's barking, so I guess I have to let him out now.
If you like this episode, or even if you didn't, you can still subscribe to our channel. And we'll see you next time. That's it for me today. I'm Lisa Keating. We're on EncinoMom TV.